Is Abraham a man of faith or a crazy man full of chutzpah? At age 75, he moves with this vague promise that he's going to have descendants as numerous as the stars, but yet he doesn't have any children yet. At age 99, he circumcises himself. No anesthesia. And then, according to the Midrash, a couple days later, when he's recovering, probably in some pain, he runs. He doesn't walk to greet these guests that we know are angels, but he probably doesn't yet. And then he plays house, preparing a feast for them, all in some pain. Then the sought-after child with Sarah comes, Isaac. Abraham agrees to sacrifice him, getting as far as lifting the knife before the angel stops him. You make the call. Faith or chutzpah? History and tradition votes that Abraham was a man of faith. Abraham indeed became the father of many generations, and the generation of the nation of the covenant, the Jewish people, did become as numerous as the stars. And we have faithfully circumcised our sons, thankfully at the age of 8 days, not 99 years, as a way to symbolize and really to mark that covenant on our bodies. Over the millennia, circumcision became one of Judaism's hallmark rituals. It is about Jewish identity. So Jews could say, we are Jewish, we are going to do this, we have a covenant with God. And unfortunately as well, those who hate Jews used circumcision bans as a way to persecute us. And yet, with faith and steadfastness, we continue to circumcise our sons, sometimes at the threat and the actualization of murder. Recently, amongst the comfort here in America, the land of freedom religion, some resistance to circumcision has percolated through the Jewish community, and actually a little bit in Israel as well. There are fears that the procedure really does inflict pain and trauma on the baby. Some want to declare the ritual of circumcision archaic and to find other rituals to welcome Jewish infants into the covenant. There is even an organization of parents providing support for this decision. There was a recent article in the New Yorker and other places talking about it. The people opposed to circumcision assert that they want to be Jewish. They're not rejecting the covenant. They just want to reject the ritual. How are we supposed to respond to this phenomenon? I'm confident in my assertion that all conservative rabbis support circumcision. And it is a case, though, that some of these families are coming to conservative synagogues, to conservative rabbis, to be part of the Jewish community. So how are we supposed to respond to them when they come to us? It's tempting to want to push them aside. It's legitimate to fear that the ranks of the non-circumcisers will grow and water down this important ritual. If they really want to be part of our community, shouldn't we compel them to observe this most important ritual? But perhaps there's another way than just pushing people aside. Conservative rabbis are suggesting that we use the powers of empathy, education, and persuasion to guide parents to choose circumcision for their infant boys. Think about it. Would you rather receive constructive feedback in a positive way or be forced in a compelled way? We often respond more to the positive than the negative. We can be empathetic by acknowledging that Brit Milah is psychologically harder than building a sukkah, than having a Seder on Passover. Recently, when these articles came up in private conversations with congregants, some have shared their own memories of angst and puzzlement just before the Brit Milah of their own sons, who are now mostly grown. A couple have had their own sons as well. They eventually mentioned to me that they accepted the higher authority of Jewish tradition and identity. Brit Milah is a fraught time. Mom has postpartum hormones, and we are all wondering, does this provide pain to the baby? I feel like we could replace circumcision with COVID, but I'm not going to go there. Yes, circumcision has some risks. It's a procedure, but we are using a sharp edge to remove some skin, break a couple of blood vessels. But in 2021, we have removed virtually every single risk. All the mohels that I have worked with use sterile fields, sterile instruments. Mohels are trained to handle complications that may arise. And we are also hypersensitive to any little sign that the infant may be unfit for the procedure. It is Jewishly illegal to perform a circumcision when there is any doubt about the health of the baby. And from my vantage point, I haven't held the knife, but I've watched them quite close. The baby cries because he's cold. How do I know? Because he starts crying when you take the diaper off. And then the ceremony is seconds old. You put the diaper back on, give him a little wine. Guess what? The crying stopped. If he is really in that much pain, then the diaper and a little bit of wine wouldn't stop the crying. And back to the parents. Should we reject them when they haven't yet circumcised their son? The halakha, actually, the Jewish law, says it is okay. Yes, for thousands of years we have made the circumcision part of Jewish identity, a beautiful thing. But when it comes to Jewish law, it is not essential to Jewish identity. A Jewish child who is yet to be circumcised, he's still Jewish. If it gets to the point where he's at bar mitzvah age and he's not yet circumcised, he gets called to the Torah. First of all, we're not going to embarrass him and let the whole world know the situation, but also he is Jewish. Yes, we can have philosophical discussions with these parents and ask, why don't girls have a ceremony to welcome them into the covenant? Can't we find one that's a little bit less evasive? Put out an earring or something else? That's for a different time. I want to talk about promoting Brit Milah, which has stood the test of thousands of years. One of the many things that Abraham's deep faith has taught us is that there is indeed mystery to the universe. There is part of our experience and our life that is not rational. So why are males born with a foreskin? It may be the same reason that we are born with appendix, that evolution has said we don't need it anymore. But for us humans, it allows us to be part of the creation process. We make the finishing touches on the creation of a child. The Talmud even describes this. When the Roman emperor is seen to be coming to Rabbi Akiva, and the Roman emperor says, why do you circumcise your sons? It's interesting because this is the very emperor that is going to tell the Jews they can't circumcise, and Rabbi Akiva is going to lead the Jews literally to martyrdom to keep circumcision. And Rabbi Akiva says, the works of God are beautiful, but the works of humankind are even more beautiful. Take a little bit of wheat, the grass of wheat. Yes, God made it grow, but human beings turn it into flour and make it into an aromatic bread loaf. And Rabbi Akiva asked the emperor, which one's better, the stalk of grain or the bread? And the emperor says, of course, the bread. And Rabbi Akiva says, you see, the works of human beings are even better. Same too with circumcision. The beautiful baby boy that has come out, thankfully, and God willing, healthy, needs a finishing touch from humankind. Notice, we say that God created the world in 7 days and everything was complete. But then there's the 8th day. And what happens on the 8th day? We circumcise the children. And we assume that their role is in the covenant of God. And we are the architects of a better world. So I join many of us in being concerned more and more about the couples rejecting circumcision. But really, let us educate ourselves, these couples, on the beauty and safety of circumcision and celebrate that we truly can connect ourselves to the train of tradition from today back to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And let us say, Amen.